All right. Welcome, welcome. Here's another episode of Let's Unwind with the Evans. I am your co host, Jessica Evans.
And I am your other co host, Thomas Evans. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's good to be here. I want to say it's good to see everybody, but it's good to be seen. How about that? It's
Yes,
good to be here. How's everybody doing? Hopefully, you're doing well. Whatever platform you may be on, if you can tag and share your family and friends and let them know that the Evans are on the air.
absolutely. Absolutely. We are here geared up for episode 5. We did episode 4 last week when we talked about am I doing too much or am
Mm,
I not doing enough?
am I not doing
So,
enough?
y'all are in for a treat. So,
That was a
as
hot
we,
topic, by the way.
yes, it was.
It was popping, that's for sure. But tonight we've got a very, very special topic that we're going to be discussing with you. We're going to share that in a minute. But again, we want to give you time to make sure you reach out to whomever, your
Yes,
significant other, your ex others, your friends, singles, whoever. Reach out, let them know that we're on the air, and let's jump on, let's watch, and let's tag and share friends and all that kind of good stuff. And we actually just didn't realize it, but we just opened up an Instagram account for our Let's Unwind with the Evans. So for those of you who may not have been aware, if you go to Instagram, just type in Let's Unwind with the Evans and follow us. Also,
yes.
make sure that you go to YouTube and it's Let's Unwind with the Evans 1232.
Absolutely. And then also follow us on TikTok. TikTok is Let's Unwind with the Evans. And then, of course, we have our Facebook group page, Let's Unwind with the Evans. It's a private group because
Hmm.
there are people who would want to share and just get our insight. So it's not a public group. However, we will accept your friend requests. Just send us a request on Let's Unwind with the Evans on Facebook. But those are our handles
Yep.
at this very moment.
Long story short, we everywhere, y'all.
Mhm.
We everywhere.
Yes, we are, we are. So, welcome. I know there are some people who are watching us, and
Mhm.
we just thank you all again. Tag and share, tag and share. We want to get this topic out there to everyone.
Yes.
It's good to really dive into it at this point. Um, so, why don't you kind of get us rolling, get us started?
Tonight we're going to be talking about social media,
Mm,
the benefits and the not so good benefits of
mhm.
social media and your relationships.
Yes, so more like the expectation?
Yep, expectations of social media coming into the
Mhm.
relationship. What are your expectations? What is an absolute no? What is acceptable? All of that good stuff. And for those of you that are single, watch this. There's also a form of social media known as online dating.
Mhm.
So we're going to cover all of that tonight. So make sure that you
Yes.
reach out and tell everybody to get together. At some point we're going to have to be on TV. That way we can tell folks, hey, turn to the channel and just watch us. That'd be a good thing.
Absolutely, manifest.
Yeah, I'll speak it. I'll speak it. I'll speak it. But no, yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about social media. What are the expectations of your social media? Um, and in some cases, there's a lot of people where social media kind of gets in the way of the relationship. Some people seem to have more of a relationship with their social media than their
Mhm.
significant other. Lack
Absolutely.
of communication. I mean, there's so many different things. There's cheating that goes on through social. I mean, social media is it's a
Yeah.
thing by itself. So we really, really want to go into that. So, babe, with you, what coming into the relationship? What was your expectation of the social media?
Coming into our relationship?
Hmm.
With social media, we followed each other for some years before we got involved
Hmm.
dating wise. And so, even with that, because I knew him personally, it wasn't a situation where he was in my DM or anything like that. It was a
We
situation
don't do
where
that.
right, but that's the way society is today.
Yeah.
So based off of our dynamic, social media really didn't play a part into the critical parts of dating,
Okay.
really getting to know each other or anything of that sort because we knew each other prior to dating.
Mm. That's good.
So I think the advantage is really being able to know that person and having someone to relate to, a physical person, all of those different things. But when you're meeting someone for the first time on social media, it is very challenging at times
Man,
because, for one, there's a certain thing known as catfishing.
I was gonna say that.
There's also, the filters, which is not, you know, and there could be women who expose themselves, and men may not like exactly what they're
Right.
exposing.
That's
And the
also a
same
big one.
thing, vice versa.
Hmm.
Men could be saying, "Oh, hot boy, whatever," right? And then it's like, okay, so you're immature. Do you have any vision? Do you have a purpose in mind? All of those different things. And so, really, with social media, you're able to gather so much about a person based
Right.
off of what they post, what they don't post, the interactions that they have, all of those different things. So you're almost like a fly on the wall
Right.
when it comes to social media. You'll know more about a social media page versus going out on the first date, because they're inclined to tell you what they want to know, men or women. And so with social media, you're able to do your investigation, ladies, right? I'm speaking for the ladies because I am an investigator. I don't know if men take that much.
Ain't
Um,
nobody got time for all that.
okay, I was going to say
Ain't
maybe
nobody
men
got.
don't really dive deep into looking at profile pictures, looking to see
Listen,
like if he still has his ex girlfriend, if he got kids,
yeah. Listen,
that type of
y'all
thing.
females take this stuff. Listen, guys, y'all gotta understand. There's a whole science out there that I didn't even realize what's going on. These women take it to the extreme. It's
Yes.
like, okay, he liked this picture this many
Mm-hmm.
times by that person. Something must be going
Well,
on.
it's not even a like
Oh
at
no, it's
this
a heart.
point. It's
Just the
a
heart.
heart. Now it's like, okay, you could simply like, but now you're holding down the
See,
post
that's
to love it.
it's a whole
What's
science,
that
guys.
about?
And so no, we don't listen.
We don't get into all
It's
of
that's
that.
too much
Okay.
energy. That's too much energy.
Well,
But when
I'll
I
say
heard,
for women, we do.
yeah,
So I'm gonna just dive deep into that. So we do our investigation. We want to make sure that the person who may be approaching us is worthy of our time, right? A
I love
conversation
how
could
you put that.
happen. Yeah, a conversation could
Worthy of
happen.
my kind.
Yeah, a conversation could happen, but it's also it's unfortunate because when you do so much digging and diving, you're trying to figure out, okay, how long are we going to date before the person shares with me, their intimate personal life,
See what I
their
mean?
background, all of those different things. And so I just kind of.
But no, what's
So why do
amazing?
men not do that kind of research?
Well, again, one of the things that my wife and I, when we first started dating, I used to share with her all the time. For men, we're very simple. We really are. There's not a whole lot, to us from that perspective. We're very simple, and so for instance, if a guy shares with a woman, I'm not ready for marriage, he really has told you who he is. He's not looking for marriage. So where he's not ready yet. He just hadn't met the right one. No, you're not listening. He just
But
so
but
watch
no,
this.
back to my question because I love where you're going with this, but back to the social media
Well, no,
perspective.
I
Why
was going to
don't
say,
you?
and so from that
Hmm.
perspective, what happens is if you look at a guy's profile, for the most part, he's going to tell you what he's into. You're either going to see sports, you're going to see cars, motorcycles, those types of things. There's not a whole lot to decipher from that perspective. Now for women, they'll get into, okay, let me see how many friends he has, how many are female, how many are male. If he's got too many female friends, then he might be a player. He might be, and so it's all this dividing and subtraction and all. And we don't now, guys. We're in the very simple. We don't have time for all that. It's like, look, I like you. I want to get with you, or whatever the case may be. That's that. But now, unless you have a guy that's just very insecure and somewhat stalkerish, then he may go to your page and start looking at a lot of that. But for the most part, most men are not
They're
really going to
physical.
be. Yeah, we're
You
not.
guys are physical, so all
Yeah,
you got to do is see a profile picture and you're in a person's DM. which brings me to the issue that most women have that are single is, okay, you're reaching out to me, but you're reaching out to me because I have a pretty face. You're reaching out to me because you like what you see with my body. How
Mhm,
many other women are you reaching out to with this same pickup line? It's not really personal.
mhm.
Um, that physical attraction, all of those different things when you meet a person and in person, it's different than meeting them on social media because
Mhm.
you're not taking it for really face value.
Yeah, and you're now, let me say this: you're right about that, and this is where social media can be tricky because people show you what they want to show you. That doesn't mean that they're always showing you what's true. And so, just because somebody may be showing you a pretty face, it's made up. They got the spiders, crawling. They've got all the other stuff going on, and you don't know
What's a
what
spider's
you.
crawling for people who don't know? Because everybody
You trying
doesn't
to
know
get me
you.
in trouble?
No.
I those are the eyelashes that go, they like look like spider legs, daddy long legs, and they're all over the place. And it's like, well, what is that? Is that for me? That's the biggest turn off on the planet. I just, ladies to each his own. That's just for me. It's just like But needless to say, but to that point, you've got filters, you've got all these pictures, you've got Photoshop, you've got all these things that are there. So even in that, you may not necessarily be getting and the reality is for a lot of ladies, the way women are wired, they're going to show their best picture anyway. Very rarely will you find a woman that's going to show a picture where she doesn't have any makeup on, where she, doesn't have a filter. She doesn't do very so for guys. That again becomes even a little bit more of a setup, and you've got to be careful and watch. So
Mhm.
to that point, what a guy will do is maybe look at a few pictures of you to see if it's consistent. Like, okay, well, all right, yeah, all right, let me go, let me check that. But again, our mindset is not let me see who she's befriending and look at all her friends' pictures and that's not, no, but we
Mhm.
want to find out more about you, like you said, because of the
The
physical
physical,
aspect.
that's it.
Right. And
Okay.
so, and again,
But
women know
what
what men
but
want.
for a woman, how can a single woman take you seriously if all you're worried about is the physical? You don't even dive deeper. You're only worried about the
Well,
physical.
I love that you asked that question because what our makeup, that's our makeup, first of all. Y'all ladies got to talk to God about that. God made us this way. But here's the thing. I remember years ago there was a young woman in our church. There was very pretty woman, and she always would say if a guy told her she was pretty, well, she was turned off immediately. And I said, okay, here's a problem that I have with that. If you're attractive and a guy does not know you, the first thing he's going to see is what you look like. He can't see your brain. He can't see your personality. He sees your shape. He sees your face. He sees your smile. He sees you. That's the catching point. Once you get there, now give him an opportunity to get to know. And to your point, now you can get to know who he is and what's going on. But again, our makeup, we're external creatures. When we look at the physical nature of man and woman, men are outward, women are internal, and that is the way we're made. And
Mhm.
so I understand for some women if they've heard you pretty all your life, and every time somebody, oh my God, you pretty, oh my God, what else is new? It's like,
Yeah,
but that's a new person.
with the DM, hey beautiful, you could have copied and pasted that and sent it to 20 females.
But maybe
But
not.
maybe not,
I
but
mean, because
there's a high possibility.
and it's also a high possibility that that's how they think about you.
Mhm.
And so what happens is, like with us, for instance, uh, when we were dating, you were always saying, I'm gaming you because I
Mhm.
would be saying certain, and I'm like, what game? And that's how I really feel. That's my
Mhm.
intent. And so the problem a lot of times with ladies is it becomes projection because I mean, my wife know me. I don't tell everyone they're beautiful. I don't subscribe to that. I mean, somebody can be pretty, somebody can be, but not every
Mhm.
woman is beautiful. So no, if I'm saying hey beautiful to you, I'm saying that to you personally. It's not, oh, let me say that to
Well,
everybody
that's
I
you
come into
personally,
contact
but
with.
I'm talking about by and large. There's so many beautiful women on social media. And so with that being said, how would you as a guy, how do you approach a woman for it to not be status quo? And
But
that's the
see,
biggest
that's
thing.
the
You
problem.
have to be different.
But
It can't just be basic.
but then the problem is,
Otherwise, she's going to leave you on red and she's not going to open up the DM, period. Because it's like, oh, okay, I just posted a picture. And then to that point, women have a lot of single men or married, whatever, but they have a lot of men nonetheless in their DMs.
well, here's the thing, and that may
So
be
what
true.
separates you?
Well, that may be
If I
true.
got Hey Beautiful from all these random people and it's 20 of them, I mean, what sets you apart? Why should I give you any energy? Why should I exert that energy?
Yeah, and I think the challenge with that also is if a guy is doing it, going kind of out of his way to be different, well, he's scrutinized by that because now the woman doesn't consider him sincere or
Mhm.
genuine, and he's trying to set himself apart. So there's a lot of projection that goes into just an introduction. I don't think an introduction should be punishment.
Mhm.
And this is the issue I think that's
That's
happening
good.
you're being punished just by an introduction. I mean, because you okay, he say hey beautiful, but if he say hey ugly, oh he's immediately blocked.
Mhm.
So what is a man supposed to do? Yeah, and the way men are taught is to treasure a woman, to cherish a woman, I should say, to approach a woman in a certain way in which it's beautiful. Most people know that women love to be uh, kind of pampered and adored. So a man knows this. This is our makeup.
Mhm.
But then when a man is operating in his makeup, he's being punished for his makeup because again, what this is what you've heard 100 times. He's not the one that you heard it from 100 times. You heard it from 100 different people, but that one gets scrutinized and penalized because of what the others are doing. That's unfair.
Mhm.
But again, I understand because so many people are in the DMs, and unfortunately, a lot of these guys going in the DMs. First of all, if we just be honest, when a guy is in your DM, he's pretty much showing you who he is anyway.
How? If that's his only way to communicate with you.
Well, because now you're saying, "Hey, beautiful," but what about the ones that are somewhat raunchy? Hey,
No, I'm not talking
shorty,
about
and and
well,
some
if
of the
that's how
other
they
stuff.
approach you, then that's just one thing. That could be their makeup. And so or yo, you do yo all the time. That's universal.
That's my thing,
So,
yo.
yeah, so it doesn't have to be hey beautiful. I don't want us to get hung up on that. But my thing is even with the approach, at what point does he ask for the number? What at what point do they exchange numbers and all of those
Well,
different
it
things?
can only
And that
exchange numbers.
depicts on conversation.
I was going to say
But
that
if a
y'all
woman's
can show that.
already, yeah, if a woman's already closed down, like, okay, this is just one of many, he's just being very surface, then you're not going to get the number.
No,
Yeah.
I'm serious. It's just like, yo, how do how does a man approach? How is a man able to if a
Mm-hmm.
woman is not allowing him to? And here's the thing we have to understand about social media because social media is so different now. And when I say
Mm-hmm.
different now, naturally, I'm from the school of where, social media kind of began,
Mm-hmm.
and whereas with you
I grew
grew
up on,
up on it. And
yeah.
it's like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, so
Completely
there's a different
different. And I will
perspective.
say, we talked about our dynamic. Well,
Hmm.
we don't really apply because we didn't meet each other on social media.
Nah, nah.
So in past relationships did start off of social media. So, but that's my generation, right? Whereas with him, 20 years ago, social media wasn't a thing. So, yes, most of his relationships would have started off in person.
You had to come
So,
strong with your game. You had
absolutely.
to come strong with your rap. It
Hmm.
wasn't no let me look at your picture. It was come walk up to you, say something to you, introduce yourself, all of that.
So, yeah,
And
they
it
kind of got it easy.
yeah, y'all do. Yeah. Man, well, I shouldn't say y'all, but that generation
Everyone
now
has it
has it
easy
really easy.
because you
It,
can be who you want to be behind the keyboard.
See, that's the point I was making because now somebody's got their chest puffed out. You've got some people, they make a character
Hmm.
about themselves that's not
Yeah.
necessarily. I mean, even with the online bullying, people just say whatever they want to say, and it's like if you was right here in the same room with me, would you say that? And
Hmm.
it's a whole nother perspective. And
Hmm.
social media has really allowed some people to just kind of go a different direction and it creates some problems.
What do you think from a social media perspective with let's just say you are dating and your significant other isn't posting you or never posts you, but you post them.
Now, see,
Where's
that's where
that?
a lot of people have problems with this social media thing because now, and I think it kind of that has to be weighed because if you're not someone who posts a lot or who posts often, and like for instance with my wife and I, my wife posts a whole lot more than I do. Now I post, but not as much as she does. So would I have the right to be upset if she's posting or vice versa? But to your point, if a person is posting, I think it only makes well, see, and it, see, fellas are not gonna like me about this, but if you're in a
Don't be
serious
misogynistic.
relationship and you're dating, no, I'm because I'm like for most men, they really won't have a problem posting their woman
What?
unless hear me out, unless they've got something that they're working on the side or they really don't want anybody to know what's going on, then it's a thing where it's like I'm not going to. But when a man is really serious about you, our makeup, again, a man's makeup is we
It's a
want the
show
world to
off.
know you.
Show off.
We gonna show you off. You
Trophy.
kind of like our trophy. So why would we hide that? No, we're proud of what we've got. We're excited about what we have. So we
Mhm.
want the world to see. We want the world to know. And
Mhm.
so if we're not doing it and you're doing it,
Mhm.
that is going to create a problem because now it's like, well, it's like going out in public at somebody and you're introducing, oh, this is my friend. Your friend,
So
huh?
you talked about the projection piece just a while ago. So when it comes to the aspect of okay, posting your significant other, at what point do you feel like the two should have a conversation, or do you feel like okay, it's just common courtesy if you're serious about me and I'm serious about you? Should there be a conversation from the offset about the nature of social media?
I think depending on how your relationship started, and like to your point, if it got started on social media, there needs to be an immediate conversation.
Mhm.
It needs to be an immediate conversation. Like, look, um, we met on social media, and because of this, you've seen my page, I've seen your page, blah blah blah. So if or even a question. So if I'm posting, would you have a problem with me posting you too much or something like? I mean, it kind of opens the door for that
Mhm.
dialogue to say, hey,
I've heard that, honestly. I've
yeah,
heard that from
yeah,
someone.
would you have a problem if I post you
Mhm.
or if I posted too much? Would you let me know? So on and so forth.
Mhm.
Then it becomes a dialogue where you both can kind of go in like, well, I may not post a whole lot. And now let's say this. And it's not so much that somebody's necessarily hiding something because some people may really be business oriented. And so they're not necessarily going to mix and mingle. But again, you're already on their page. You already kind of know where they are. So you can see
Mhm.
if they have business thing or whatever, so they
Mhm.
may not post a whole lot because of that. So
Right.
let's not say everybody is creeping because there's not. So I don't want that projection to go out there, but I'm just saying by and large, if someone is posting a lot and the other person is not, there's something's wrong with that. That's not a fair assessment at all. So we gotta be able to have the dialogue from the outset, from the very
Mhm.
beginning. Hey, would you have a problem if I post you too much, or hey, I like taking pictures. Women, please let these guys know when you come in a relationship with them if you are a picture holic, is what I call it, because you love to take pictures and you love to post. He needs to be warned. He needs to know this because what you do not want to do
Now,
is set him up.
if he's done his research, the necessary research, he would have known you were a pictureaholic before he pursued you.
Not
So what you're not going to do is
we
make me
don't do
not
that.
post. But no, what I'm saying is obviously you saw my profile, right? If you didn't just see one picture as a profile picture and didn't see any of the other things that I post, you could see how many times I post today, all of those different
Yeah,
things.
no,
So to go into the situation like, okay, well, I need you to limit the posting, that is going to come off as a red flag because it's like, okay,
no,
well,
no.
what
I
you
wasn't saying no, limit the post. I'm saying let the man know so he's aware that he may be part of the posting, that he may be part of
as a single, or are you talking about
either or,
dating or marriage?
both,
Oh,
both. Because
wow.
because again, that's the other thing. A lot of men are not necessarily always wanting to pose for cameras. women, y'all throw the leg out there, y'all throw the hands on the hips, y'all. If you ever notice, men, we get kind of awkward. We be like, how do I gotta stand? What do I put my hands on my? I mean, it's
I think
because
that's
that's
more
not.
of a generation thing too,
It's not.
though.
Well, maybe
Yeah, I
because
think that's more of a generation
maybe,
thing because a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
guys, my age don't have an issue with. But I see more guys posting on my social
Yeah,
media,
you might be
so I
right.
don't.
You
And
might be
they're
right.
posting selfies. They may have somebody take a picture of them while
Mhm.
they're
They're on
whatever.
FaceTime, they're on
Right.
Facebook Live, Instagram.
Yeah.
They
So,
want the world to see that they at the mall. They want the world to see that they at the
and nothing's wrong
restaurant.
with it, but from what I'm looking at, I'm like, okay, that's more, I think, of a generation thing. Whereas with you guys,
Man,
it wasn't necessarily post. What were y'all posting? Y'all weren't posting anything because you didn't have social media to post. Who gonna see your pictures? So that's why I said it's more of a generation difference. Do you think
perhaps
so?
I could see that. I could see that happening. Yeah, because I mean, I see some young guys that just not. Some yes, but then others. So I mean, I just think women are more prone to
Mm-hmm.
posing and wanting to get in front of a camera.
Yeah.
I mean, it's become the thing to do for a lot of guys now, but
Mm-hmm.
that definitely wasn't something that was happening for men.
Well, how do you think a man should approach a woman when it comes to social media? Like, are there any tips that you can give that are out of the box? Maybe there's a single person watching right
I
now,
don't
and they're like, "Look, I've been trying to see how far this is going to go with this woman. I'm
I don't
attracted to her."
subscribe to
And
meeting a person on social media, honestly. So I mean, now let me explain this. If okay, you see someone that's beautiful or attractive or whatever, maybe you see. I don't because, and I say this only because I've heard so many to what you're saying, women who are really just they've had too much DM activity.
hmm
So now it's almost like a red flag for
most
a
beautiful
man to
women
even
have,
reach out
yeah.
to them. So it's like, no, you got to find another way. And it's like
Yeah, it
just
is. And
be
don't come across thirsty. Okay.
what that's
If
the thing.
I actually
You know what?
have seen.
I have an advice. Okay, you can be very upfront. Look, I don't normally do this. Please forgive me for, reaching out to you, but I find you attractive. I would really like to find out if there's an opportunity to, if you and I could maybe exchange numbers or emails if need be, just so because I don't want you thinking I'm some psycho or anything like that. But I
Mhm.
think that there could possibly be something. Now, in saying that, now you have to bring your criteria or your credentials to the table. I'm this, I work here, I do this, boom, boom, boom. Now you kind of give
Why
them the
would you give
idea.
that all at one time though? Because you don't really know if she a
No,
stalker
no,
or if she's psycho. I
but
wouldn't give you where I
no,
work.
no, no. But again,
Flag on the play.
because you're not a man, you don't approach us. We
I'm saying
approach
in
you
general, most of them don't. Not off the first conversation. You're saying from an approach.
because
Now,
the
if the
idea
conversation
is to let her
goes,
understand that
hmm
you're credible and not just somebody sitting up in somebody's DM, and that this is the first time doing it. So you want to be transparent about what you. And
listen,
now I didn't say give your
you
credit
could work
score.
at a Fortune 500
I didn't say
company
give your
and still
credit
be in
score.
DMs. So that don't make you credible, depending on how much money you make.
No, it don't.
It's about
But
character.
when you're trying, that's the point. When you're trying to show them your character by saying, I'm putting this on the table. I'm putting the cards on the table. I don't have anything to hide. That's why I said you've got to be, look, I don't want you
Okay.
to think this. I don't want you to think that. But here's who I am. This is what I'm about. I'm not saying give your whole family history, give them your credit score, your bank account. No, no, no. We're not doing that. But in order
hmm
for you to know that I'm credible and that I am at least someone you can trust to have a conversation with, and
hmm
hopefully we can take it further, I'm going to give you the opportunity, watch this, to research what you need to research.
hmm
So this is where I'm at. This is what I do. Boom. Now you don't have to do it on the slide, sneaking it. I'm giving it to you.
Women
I'm
gonna do it regardless, but I
right.
get what you're
Yeah.
saying.
So I put that out there
You're just giving
now.
extra information on top of what she's gonna find
That's
anyway.
it. Hey, this
Okay.
is my name. This is my age. I do this for a living. Boom,
hmm
boom, boom. If you want to check whatever you want to check, let me know. If not, I understand.
hmm
And
That
leave it
would
at
set a
that.
person apart. I
And,
like that tip.
and that's the point. But
hmm
now at that point, if not, I understand. And don't push it any further.
Yeah.
If they don't respond back, that was their loss.
And first of all, because it's not common, right? We have to talk about the common perspective. So since that approach, the tip you gave is not common, regardless for a person who is distorted in their thinking, it's going to come across as, okay, why is he giving me all this information? I mean, I don't even know him.
That brokenness.
I'm a complete stranger. So a lot of those different things that kind of go into it. But, I subscribe to the whole social media thing. I'm for social media dating. I believe that there are stories that come across, success stories, people who are married. They met on social media, have been married for years. So it is a success story in it. I would be interested in speaking to those couples to see exactly how that space navigated. But social media has just it's accelerated beyond what it used to be.
It has. I mean, and that's the thing. It's for those who definitely have grown up, and that's the thing. I have conversations with a lot of older people sometimes about the whole social media perspective, because the knock is, oh, they're telling all your business, and it's like you have to understand the dynamic. There's a generation of people that grew up on this. They would wake up in the morning and wake up to their friends.
Mm-hmm.
They're having conversations with their friends via social media. So it's become a whole different thing.
Yep.
And it's almost like, to some people, the social media is their family. That's their engagement. That's their
Look, watch
friends.
this. Before I was even able to have a cell phone, I had a computer in my room, and I used to go to social media, MySpace, telling my age, but I used to go to MySpace every time I got home from school because that was how I interacted with my friends. And so I'm not talking about on the phone because I didn't have that liberty, but social media had always been at the disposal based off of having a computer at home.
Yeah. So now what about for the people where social media gets in the way? Let's say married couples, social media kind of gets in the way of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to that? How do we address those types of issues?
Well, when I think about that specific question, it's two parts. So when I'm hearing you ask that question, I'm thinking about the time spent on social media. That's the first thing that came to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're married and your partner is spending a lot of time on social media and they're not making sure that they're spending quality time with you, they're not making sure that they're running their business successfully. You could be watching a movie and every time you turn around, they're just scrolling on social media and they're not talking or communicating with you whatsoever. Then yes, that will cause an issue in marriage because it's like, okay, what's more important? You trying to figure out everybody else's life and what they got going on and what they ate for the day or whatever's on their mind? Or are you interested in the person that you committed to and making sure that there's not a void whatsoever? So I can see social media becoming a person's outlet, especially if you're married, let's say, and there's issues in your marriage. Social media becomes now your mistress, if you will, because now there's a void in communication. My spouse and I are not talking, this week. She's giving me one word answers. He's not responding to me. He's rather, stay out or try to occupy his time. And the easiest way, especially if you have an introvert as a husband or a wife, the easiest thing to do is go on social media, because no matter what type of personality you have, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you could be on social media and no one will know one way or the other because all you're doing is scrolling. This has nothing to do with you posting, but you could be just scrolling and you get fulfillment. Maybe you don't really like being in social atmospheres. You don't really like being around a lot of people. Well, social media serves as that community, if you will, to where you don't have to physically be around people, but you can still connect. And so I think in marriage, that kind of gets in the way sometimes. Again, if there are other issues, and we share this with the couples that we counsel all the time, when it comes to friendships, when it comes to other exterior relationships outside of your marriage, if your home is unhappy, all of that should take a back seat until you get your house in order.
Right.
And so
Right.
we often share that with couples because, again, it can look like a replacement factor. So you rather
Yes.
not work on the issue because you can replace it easily by
Right.
just tapping your phone,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
And in some cases, like you said, you're just scrolling, but some people post, some people comment, some people
Mhm.
will find comments that are similar maybe to what they're going through. And now all of a sudden that becomes their outlet
Right.
to communicate. And it's like you had a whole live individual right next to you and you can't communicate with them, but
Mhm.
you communicate with the others. Wake up first thing in the morning on
Mhm.
social media, go to bed on social media. That's a that's a problem. And we know that I forget the name of it, but there's actually a name of it where people have
It's
become
it's an
it's addictive.
addiction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and so now anytime you have free time, it's like immediately your brain goes to the
Mhm.
social media thing, and
And you
that's
may
part
not
of
even
how it.
realize it. That's why it's important to ask your significant other. But again, do we feel like social media is a detriment to marriage?
Nah,
No,
nah.
not at all. It's about
It's just a byproduct.
appropriating. No, it's about
Yeah,
appropriating and time management.
correct.
Social media shouldn't take most of your time and I only get 20 minutes. That's not fair. And
That
so
part.
from that
You've been
perspective,
on
no.
3 hours,
Mhm.
but you get 20 minutes.
Exactly.
And listen, and social media is now developing into other types of platforms. We're not just talking about like Facebook, Instagram, now you have TikTok where they're doing reels. So, you're watching other people's videos, you're watching people dance, you're watching celebrities. And then you've got things like what's known as Clubhouse and some other forms of social media where they still serve as distractions
Mhm.
and time consuming things.
Mhm.
And that time consumption has a way of getting in the relationship and in some regards creating some friction. So like, to my wife's point, you want
Mhm.
to make sure that you balance it out and you understand. Look, I was on Clubhouse for a very short stint and realized how time consuming that was. And I said, yo, I can't do this. That's way too much. I don't have my whole some people have made this thing their life.
Mhm.
Ain't nobody got time for all that. I got a wife. I got kids, jobs. I got stuff to do. I don't have time to do all day, sun up, sun down on the platform, social media.
Now there is, again, there is a place for it. If you are an entrepreneur, you have no choice but to be on social media. So we're not
That part.
talking about, right.
No,
We're
it's
talking about the ones who are not
networking, marketing.
entrepreneurs. They work in a
Right,
9 to 5, don't have an interest in being a business owner. These are the ones that we're talking about. But for those who actually need social media for their business to thrive, then you have
you
no
have
other
to. You
choice.
have to
But
do what
it's
you got to
that
do.
time management.
Correct.
Okay, let me go ahead and post from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then I have the rest of the day not to really be on social media
Right.
whatsoever, unless I'm replying back to prospects or clients
But
and things
again,
of
it's
that sort.
based on the business itself.
Hmm.
Like what I mentioned, the other platform. If you're 10 hours in a day, that don't have nothing to do with business. That don't have, I mean, and okay, that might be a form of ministry, but you know, you can't be out, talking to your neighbor. You can't be at the grocery store. You can't be, and
Hmm.
so there's it, yeah, it has to be, it's all about prioritizing and understanding what has to happen and what does not have to happen. And
Absolutely.
again, these platforms are growing. So there's more platforms that are out there. And I forget there's another one out there. I forget the name of it. My son was talking about it. And
I
he's
don't
on, I
remember.
forget the name of that. So there's other platforms being built as we speak to take social media to a whole new level.
Yes.
And I mean, the one he's on, they actually pay you to be on there. And it's
Hmm.
like, oh my gosh. So there's a lot that's out there. And the question is, how can you prioritize your life so that there is a balance where you're not overcommitting to social media and maybe overcommitting? And I don't want to say overcommitting to your relationship, but I don't think you could ever overcommit to your relationship. But you want to make sure that you have the proper balance in place so that when you're dealing with things like social media, it's appropriate for what it is. And
Hmm.
you make a great point because for us, we have to use social media for a lot of the things that
Yeah,
we do. We don't
absolutely.
have I mean, we have to. And so it is
Hmm.
what it is. But we balanced that.
Absolutely.
There's a major, like I said, I don't post as much as I could.
Yeah.
I really fall back a lot from that, but I still do from time to time, but not nearly as much as I could. I could be doing it a whole lot to promote my books and some of the other things that are out there. So
You
there's a
will in this
caveat there.
season. You
There's a
will.
caveat there. Uh-oh,
Like
I
I
will.
said, my husband, he talk for free. He be on social media for free. I'd be like, look, as much as time you spend doing this, I need you to get paid for it. So it's coming. He will be posting more. But no, the second
Did y'all
part
hear
to
what she
that,
said? Did y'all hear what she said? As much as I do it, you should be getting paid for it. See that but she knows I'm pouring out all the time in so many different areas and avenues. But
mhm.
yes, we're gonna be doing some more posting. Trust that.
So the second part to it, I mentioned, marriage and social media as far as, the time
Hmm.
consumption, all of those different things. But the second part that comes to mind to answer your question is, let's talk about, boundaries in marriage. We did boundaries in marriage before a couple of years ago when we
Hmm.
first started Let's Unwind. But when it comes to social media and marriage, there are some issues in marriage where, okay, well, you have a lot of men on your profile, the way
Oh
you're posting a certain way, and you have men commenting that may
man,
be disrespectful, or they know that you're married because your profile says married, but they're still constantly posting saying
yeah,
you're beautiful. The same thing, vice versa. You see women posting, your husband could post something about his, just looking really nice, lavish or whatever. And a woman could go on there and try to shoot their shot or say, "Gosh, you're so handsome," or whatever the case may be. But
shoot your
again,
shot.
that's just being messy because again, if your profile says married, that's where the mess comes in at. But then also the boundaries aspect based off of your spouse, do you all have the marriage where there's a common agreement that anything from the past should not be in our future or present?
Mm,
If you've never had that conversation, then no, it shouldn't come about to where you're projecting that, oh, he should just get
right,
rid, or he should just know, oh, she should just, no, we're married now, so why is she even entertaining,
right.
why are they, if you haven't had a conversation, then you're responsible for that.
That's the part right there. So conversation, communication is everything
Mhm.
when it comes to what you do and how you do it. And she's right from the boundaries perspective. What kind of boundary do you set in place? And and those are conversations that definitely needs to be had from the very beginning. But to your point, if you're meeting a person on social media, whatever have you, they already know what you post. I mean, if you always posting half nude pictures of yourself and stuff, then they know that coming in.
Mhm.
Now, the question is, to your point, which you mentioned earlier, okay, you met them this way. Are you expecting them to change?
Mhm.
And is this something you want them to do, or is this something you want them to do on their own? Or
Yeah.
so now again, the conversation has to be had.
Mhm.
And this is where for a lot of men, I think there kind of creates a few problems because you know a lot of men like a certain type of woman,
Mhm.
and for them, if they feel like their woman is kind of outside of what they're looking for, immediately there's a mindset that
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to change her or she needs to change. That's wrong because that you have listen. You have to tell them what your expectation is up front.
Yeah, that's fair.
You have to do it up front. And so when you're dealing with social media, up front, you see who they are. Up
Mhm.
front, you know what they're about. So there shouldn't be an issue if it does get to a point
Mhm.
where you're now conversating and it ends up in some form of a relationship. Now, granted, once if you guys get to a place you're married, things like that. Well, of course, we don't expect her or him to, be. He might be work out and love his chest, and every time you turn around, he's got his chest sticking out. Okay, you married now. That belongs to me. Let's
Yeah.
let's do something about that. Throw a shirt on that. Let's so it goes both ways. But again, respect, honor, and admiration of the person that you're with is
Mhm.
everything. Now,
Absolutely.
I want to say if you're dating, and there's some criteria. My wife and I have been talking a lot about this lately, but when you're dating, there's there's some parameters involved, but you're still not married yet.
Mhm.
So to a certain degree, you still hold your individuality.
Mhm. Absolutely.
You still hold your individuality once you get married.
Mhm.
But when you're dating, please hear me, when you're dating,
You don't have to consider
you're not,
nobody
there's
really.
no obligation.
Mhm.
There's no ring. There's nothing that obligates you to say I'm going. So and so I want us to be careful with that, because I think what's happened with a lot of people is, and we talk about it all the time. You date and all of a sudden you act like you're married. You're
Mhm.
not married. This is not a marriage yet.
Mhm.
There's not, and the reality is we can tell you emphatically it's not a marriage, because you really don't know who that person is. You will find out when you get married,
Mhm.
but right now you don't know them because you're still dealing with the representative of who that person is. So, yeah, you still want to make sure that you understand going in, okay, this is what your page looks like, this is what your profile is. I think a person's profile page
Mhm.
should be a great topic of discussion, honestly. I mean, naturally, I'd like to get to know you more and blah, 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 and you can go on. But now let's discuss, your pictures. Okay, I see you have a picture. You went to Vegas. That was awesome. How many times do you go to Vegas? What's that about? See, now the pictures can become a topic of discussion, and you
Mhm.
find out who the person is and
I love
set
that.
the expectations out there. Oh, so you do your girl trips,
Mhm.
a couple times a year.
I
Okay,
love
well, that's
that.
pretty cool. So now you're not surprised when you get in there and she's scheduling a girls' trip. You have seen that she does
Mhm.
girls' trip, and now that's a topic of discussion. So you can deal with what the expectations are and who she should be. Ah, come on. I'm just saying, so it's all about understanding that the dynamic and get in looking at that person's page, and what they show you, and what they share with you, and how you can receive it and how you can accept it. So you gave me the look. Give me the look. What's that, baby?
What's the look about
Yeah.
that everybody saw? That look? Because, to my husband's point, he had a great point with mentioning your individuality. And if they've seen you, if you've experienced taking girls' trips, if you've experienced just hanging out with the fellas every Friday night, y'all have a meeting spot, y'all hang out, whatever the case may be. I don't subscribe to that being wrong in marriage. I don't even subscribe to it not continuing in marriage, especially if that was something you did prior to marriage.
Right.
Does there need to be a conversation about it? Of course. But is that one night or those couple days, is that going to take away from your marriage? No. If anything, it's going to add to it. Why is it going to add to it, you say? Because you're now separated from your spouse. That gives you the opportunity to miss them. That gives you the opportunity to kind of reconnect once you get back into that place or whatever. Because had you been around, marriage can be what you make it, right? It's always what you make it. But if you're constantly together all the time, you do need that certain outlet,
Kind
even
of
if it's
space.
once a year, whatever the case may be, but you do need that time away. That is healthy. Now, your spouse could be your best friend, all that, and that, but at the same time, you do need that individual self-care if you want to hang out with the boys. And I encourage you. I'll be like, babe, look, you need to go hang out.
My wife
not
subscribes to
not
missing each other. She does.
I do because I know me, right? I know if we spend as much, we share it all the time. We're gonna be transparent up in this piece, right? When we first got married, we were sent home 4 to 5 months after we got married. The pandemic happened. We both were working from home. It wasn't enough. We were working at the same company 3 years prior to
Right.
working from home. So that togetherness, oh, we got that. We got that down pat. So for me, I didn't realize, and for those who didn't come into that unique situation at that time, that 2019, 2020, and beyond,
Mhm.
beyond, then it's different. But for those who have, got married around that time frame and you're working together, or let's say your spouse lost a job. I mean, there were layoffs happening around that time, the pandemic. So that's marriage is already trying to mesh. But when you
You
have all of
mhm.
that on top of that, it's
you
not for
found
the
you
weak.
found a way to reconnect during
Hmm.
COVID. Many of you that were in relationship found a way to reconnect to your spouses during COVID.
Yes.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But no, I give that look because look, my babe will be like, look, I'm gonna miss you too much. I can't see you out of my sight. At least that's what he tell me. It could be another underlying issue. What's your issue with girls
Underlying
trip?
issue?
Yeah.
Underlying issue?
Be real. You don't have an issue with girls trip. This let's unwind with the Evans.
You took
Before marriage, 2018. I remember the last time.
and what happened
What happened?
to me?
Yes, I understand what happened to you.
What happened? I nearly died. Not because of the girls.
But we're
trip,
not going to
but-
predicate every. That's
No,
almost like
and not
having.
because, I just said not because
Yeah.
of the girls trip, but yeah, I don't know. It's like don't even talk about it. That was crazy. But,
If a pattern like that happens, then okay, we can base it off of a girls
man,
trip.
well,
But we can't just say, oh yeah, I'm gonna be in the hospital if you go on a girls trip. No, we can't do that.
no, we can't do that. We won't be doing that no more. That's devil is a lie.
No.
Nah, won't be doing that.
But
nah.
listen, we have a surprise for you all. I know we have 9 minutes before we close out. But I do really want to encourage even the women that are watching this broadcast tonight. I really do want to encourage you to not project when it comes to men coming, approaching you from social media.
How else they gonna meet you?
Okay. So they don't have your personal number, right? They don't know where you work at. They don't know where you live at, all of those different things. So the only aspect or the only tool they have to communicate is social media.
He just do I appear at your house like a genie? Rub the lamp. Show up at your front door. Y'all need to stop it. Live a little. I know there's some creeps out there, but everybody just don't project it. Every man out there that's reaching out to you is a creep. And I've seen some posts from people about that, from women. If a man reach out to me in a TM, he ain't no good, and blah, blah. And I should be like, wow, it's brutal out there right now. I'm like, man, I just can't even imagine. I'm so thankful, God. Look, I thank God for the night that you and I gazed into each other's eyes and we locked eyes. I'm like, man, that's just, that's it. But what's going on now? Ah, man, it's brutal. And so many women have been hurt that it has made it really, really difficult now for men to have good conversations with ladies. It's terrible, y'all. Praying for y'all. Go ahead with your surprise, baby. I'm sorry.
No, you cut me off. I was about to share with them because again,
because I'm just like,
coming from a man's perspective, you haven't been on the receiving end of a woman. You're not a woman to know what that
but again,
feels
we're not
like.
talking with the creeps. We understand.
No, I'm talking about in general.
But
with
again,
social media.
every man is projected to be that.
I was going to deal with that.
Yeah, it's sad.
You gonna encourage or you gonna come at the women? What you gonna do?
It.
So you're not going to encourage.
No, I'm saying because I'm trying to encourage because I'm saying just use common sense.
No,
how else is a man going to meet you? That's like for a lady that's single that don't go anywhere. And she talking about I'm trying to find my husband. How? You don't go anywhere. You got to go where the men are. You got to do something. No man is just going to show up at your door. I mean, even an Amazon man that drops the package off, he drops the package off and he runs. So ultimately, how else? And that's all I'm saying. I'm trying to use some kind of rationale. Now, if this is a person that's in your city, that's close by or something, but if somebody's long distance or something like that, and they're just trying to, hey, they think it's a pretty picture. Every man does not have to be a creep, and it's just wrong to put every man in that category. That's all I'm saying. I get passionate about that because I'm a man. And I'm just passionate about manhood, and I know
and I'm passionate about womanhood.
But I know the challenges that men have to go through and men have to put up with, and that's just one other thing that's kind of like, and so now it's crazy. That's all. But yeah, you go ahead, babe. You encourage them, because I'm not being very encouraging.
You're not. So what I was going to share with you is to really get down to the bottom of why there is a projection to begin with. This can come from hurt.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm like,
look, I'm putting my finger up with my husband because he done
No, I'm
put a
no.
dagger in a lot of so I'm stitching it back up. So from a stitching up perspective, I want you all to really begin to self-reflect as to why it's so easy to reject. Yes, we understand hurt. Yes, we understand playing games, being played with, losing of time, all of those different things, breakups, cheating, all of those different things, right? We get it. We understand that by and large, there are a lot of different philosophies out here with men being dogs, men being this, men being for everybody. You don't want somebody who's for everybody. I get that. But there's also twofold because the man doesn't know your character coming into it as well. He's taking a risk just like you are with receiving it.
But I was going to say, from that perspective, it is both ways because just as much as we talk about men cheating, women do too.
Mm-hmm.
That's not so. That's the other thing. So we can't project one way or the other, and we can't say men do it more than women. No, it's twofold. The difference, we've always talked about it. Women just don't get caught as much as men do, but it's across the board. But my wife makes a great point. There's a risk involved for the man to reach out to you, and you have to realize that. You go, girl. I'm gonna throw where my shoe at, so I can throw my shoe at you. She's over here preaching. What's the other point?
That was it.
That was it. Oh, that was great. That's
was it.
That's why she bad, y'all. She be bringing up them little points and stuff on it. Come on now. Go ahead and show them your surprise.
Okay. So, thank you all for joining us. What we mentioned on our Let's Unwind Facebook group page, my husband gave me a surprise for Valentine's Day, and I want to share the gift with you all before we close out. So if you could just hold on for just a moment, don't go anywhere, and we're going to play it for you all. All right. So I hope you all were able to hear that. Hopefully, so it's our first time playing it on our podcast. So, yes, my husband definitely surprised me with a song. He wrote a song for me and then actually paid for artists to sing the song. So I was very appreciative of that. Definitely. That took me by surprise.
It was. She started crying. She was fussing at me at first. Then she started crying. I said, see, got you.
Yes. Well, we are going to go ahead and end this for tonight. But again, just want to give you our handles once more. You can follow us on Instagram, Let's Unwind with the Evans, Facebook group, Let's Unwind with the Evans, TikTok, the same, YouTube, Let's Unwind with the Evans 1232. And until next time, we'll see you guys.
See y'all next week. Thank y'all for joining. Take care. Have a great day.